In this podcast episode, Dr. David Unwin explores the critical issues surrounding metabolic health, particularly type 2 diabetes and fatty liver disease. He discusses how common dietary misconceptions and food marketing contribute to the global rise in these conditions. The conversation delves into the role of sugar and carbohydrate-rich foods, the science of insulin resistance, the importance of behavior change, and practical strategies for reversing or preventing metabolic disorders. Additionally, Dr. Unwin shares personal stories and insights into the psychological aspects of lifestyle change, the challenges of addiction to ultra-processed foods, and the potential benefits of continuous glucose monitoring and targeted supplementation. Dr. Unwin opens with a stark warning about the pandemic of poor metabolic health affecting people worldwide, noting especially the alarming rise in type 2 diabetes among young people, once a disease almost exclusively seen in older adults. He points out the dangerous normalization of excess belly fat, often jokingly called the dad bod, emphasizing that fat distribution on the abdomen is far more concerning for health than fat on other body parts. Early and uncontrolled type 2 diabetes drastically shortens life expectancy, and many sufferers remain unaware they have the disease. Dr. Unwin stresses the urgent need for public awareness to prevent the slide into metabolic disaster. A pivotal part of the discussion debunks popular beliefs about sugar content in everyday foods. Using a teaspoon of sugar equivalent system, Dr. Unwin reveals that staple items like cornflakes, potatoes, bananas, boiled white rice, and even chocolate bars contain far more sugar than commonly believed. Notably, a 150-gram serving of boiled rice can have as much sugar, converted from starch, as about 10 teaspoons of sugar, shattering the myth that rice is inherently a healthy food. The conversation highlights how these hidden sugars contribute to blood glucose spikes and metabolic strain, leading to insulin resistance and fat accumulation, particularly in the liver. The hormone insulin plays a key role in managing blood sugar by pushing glucose into cells for energy or storage. However, excessive carbohydrate intake overwhelms this system, leading to a buildup of fat inside liver cells, fatty liver disease. Dr. Unwin explains that fatty liver interferes with insulin's effectiveness, causing the pancreas to produce more insulin in a compensatory yet unsustainable effort. Over time, fat also accumulates in the pancreas, impairing insulin production and precipitating full-blown type 2 diabetes. This long, silent scream of the liver occurs gradually and often undetected for years, emphasizing the need for early intervention. Dr. Unwin recounts his personal clinical experience beginning in 2013, when he embraced a low-carbohydrate lifestyle alongside his patients. He observes remarkable improvements not only in blood sugar control, but also in liver function, blood pressure, and weight loss, often accompanied by diminished hunger and better mental clarity. He stresses that earlier intervention in pre-diabetes yields higher chances of remission, with a success rate dropping the longer type 2 diabetes remains untreated. These findings are backed by hundreds of cases monitored in his practice, highlighting the potential for low-carb diets to reverse or significantly improve metabolic disease. A recurring theme is the confusion and misinformation around diet and health, even among healthcare professionals. Dr. Unwin shares stories of patients accusing him, as a doctor, of never explaining that common foods like bread and breakfast cereals are sources of sugar, and he admits that early in his career, he did not fully appreciate the significance of carbohydrate-based sugars. He also challenges widespread beliefs about health foods like orange juice, smoothies, dried fruit snacks, and the fruit sugar halo effect, explaining their high glycemic loads and impact on blood sugar. This confusion extends to influential people, including athletes and business leaders, showing how pervasive misinformation truly is. A valuable part of the discussion focuses on nutritional science, particularly the difference between glycemic index and glycemic load. While glycemic index ranks carbohydrates based on blood sugar impact relative to pure glucose, glycemic load accounts for portion size and thus better predicts real-world effects on blood sugar levels. Dr. Unwin's teaspoon of sugar equivalent system simplifies this concept for patients and the public, making it easy to understand the hidden sugar load even in foods that do not taste sweet, like starchy potatoes or rice. This system empowers individuals to make more informed dietary choices. Dr. Unwin emphasizes the challenge of changing lifestyle and health behaviors in a world flooded with conflicting advice. Drawing on the expertise of his wife, Jen, a clinical health psychologist, he introduces the GRIN model, a structured approach to behavior change focusing on goals, resources, increments, and notice. This model encourages people to clarify specific, personal health goals, recognize their existing strengths and supports, take small, manageable steps, and reflect on positive changes. The approach shifts the focus from blame and guilt to motivation, hope, and practical progress, factors critical for sustained success in lifestyle change. A profound and candid part of the conversation uncovers the powerful, addictive nature of ultra-processed foods. Dr. Unwin shares poignant examples from his practice, including patients with severe food addictions characterized by compulsive overeating of bread and sugary foods, even to the extent of getting up in the night to eat hidden bread, despite attempts by loved ones to prevent it. His wife Jen's work in this field shows that about 4% of people struggle with ultra-processed food addiction, paralleling addiction models for substances like tobacco and alcohol. The discussion includes psychological implications, the role of support systems, and strategies combining low-carb diets, continuous glucose monitoring, and, when appropriate, medications like GLP-1 analogs to overcome these challenges. Dr. Unwin advocates for the use of continuous glucose monitors, CGMs, as a game-changing tool in metabolic health management. CGMs provide real-time feedback on blood sugar levels, allowing users to see the immediate impact of their dietary choices and lifestyle. This personalized data helps break through misinformation and denial, encouraging wiser food selections and better glycemic control. The accessibility and relatively low cost of CGMs make them practical for many people, and Dr. Unwin suggests they could be excellent gifts for loved ones struggling with metabolic health issues. The relationship between poor metabolic health and a range of chronic diseases, including cancer, is a significant focus. Dr. Unwin references studies linking sugary drink consumption, high fructose intake, and chronic hyperinsulinemia with increased risks of various cancers, such as estrogen-dependent endometrial cancer and colorectal cancer. He explains that high insulin levels inhibit apoptosis, the natural destruction of damaged cells, and promote inflammation and tumor progression. This underscores the critical potential of diet and lifestyle modifications, not just for diabetes prevention, but also for cancer risk reduction, emphasizing prevention as a priority alongside treatment. Dr. Unwin details the wider societal effects of metabolic diseases, including decreased life expectancy and health span. Government data from the UK shows that every year of poorly controlled type 2 diabetes can shorten life by about 100 days, and many people have diabetes unknowingly. The UK and the US particularly suffer from a growing gap between lifespan and healthy lifespan, with increasing years lived with chronic illness and disability. Economic consequences include billions in added healthcare costs and lost productivity due to illness, highlighting the urgent need for public health interventions focused on nutrition and lifestyle. A practical, low-cost metric for assessing metabolic risk discussed in the podcast is waist circumference. Dr. Unwin explains that a healthy waist size should be less than half of a person's height. Using a piece of string to measure this at home is an easy test to estimate visceral fat levels, which correlate with insulin resistance and cardiovascular risk. This simple self-assessment can serve as motivation and an early warning sign, prompting lifestyle change. Addressing supplementation, Dr. Unwin expresses preference for obtaining nutrients from a real food, minimally processed low-carb diet, but recognizes the challenges of modern agriculture and soil depletion in providing adequate minerals. Magnesium supplementation is highlighted as particularly important because it is difficult to get enough from diet alone, and many medications interfere with its absorption. Different forms of magnesium serve various purposes, such as citrate for constipation relief and glycinate or threonate for neurological benefits. Vitamin D and omega-3 fatty acids are also commonly recommended, especially for people with limited sun exposure or dietary intake. Dr. Unwin shares his transformative journey from a traditional prescribing doctor who believed medication was paramount to a practitioner focused on lifestyle change driven by patient success stories and personal experimentation with low-carbohydrate diets. He recounts how quitting his own biscuit habit and adjusting his eating habits led to significant improvements in weight, mental clarity, sleep, and blood pressure. His clinical practice integrates real-world data collection, ongoing patient support, and openness about the evolving nature of medical understanding. The podcast touches on disparities in healthcare access and education, both within the UK and between different countries. Dr. Unwin underscores the importance of providing clear, practical advice that can reach diverse populations, including those with limited resources or health literacy. The advent of technologies like quick and affordable health screening services and CGMs promises greater democratization of health management. Still, inequities remain a pressing challenge, with metabolic disease disproportionately affecting deprived communities. Consistency in lifestyle change is often supported by social structures. Dr. Unwin highlights examples such as a WhatsApp group that he personally joined with friends to motivate each other through shared accountability and friendly competition. Social pacts like this help maintain momentum, reinforce identity as a healthy person, and create positive psychological feedback loops. Redefining success as consistency rather than perfection helps individuals stay on track despite inevitable setbacks. The conversation acknowledges that genetics do influence health trajectories and risk of chronic diseases. However, Dr. Unwin emphasizes that lifestyle choices heavily modulate these risks, meaning that genes do not equal destiny. He encourages a personalized approach to diet and health interventions, aided by self-monitoring tools and professional guidance tailored to individual goals, capacities, and preferences. Experimentation, backed by measured results, is key to optimizing health outcomes. In a lighter moment, Dr. Unwin humorously suggests that Sir David Attenborough would be the ideal ambassador for humanity in the hypothetical event of contact with a more intelligent species, owing to his profound knowledge of the planet and passionate advocacy for biodiversity and sustainable living. This reflects Dr. Unwin's broader commitment to environmental as well as human health. Finally, Dr. Unwin encourages the public to engage with educational resources like the Public Health Collaboration Charity, which he helped establish to provide clear, evidence-based public health advice. He advocates for open access infographics and easy-to-understand materials that promote health literacy globally. He invites listeners to follow his work on social media and support efforts that shift public health narratives from blame and confusion to empowerment and practical change.